So eugenics is the idea, it literally means well-born. And so back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, especially, over in Europe to some degree, but definitely here in the United States, there was this idea that we basically were letting a lot of people being born and reproduce that weren't of good genetic stock, right? They had disease, and it could be a lot of things. I mean, it was very vague what was considered not being well born and what should not be allowed to reproduce. And so what happened was they had things like forced sterilization. So if they didn't consider you worthy to reproduce, they would sterilize you. They would have marriage restriction laws, so only certain individuals could marry each other. And there's kind of two camps. There's what we call positive eugenics, which is saying those that are well-born should marry, should reproduce. And then there's negative eugenics where, no, these people should be sterilized, put away, segregated from the rest of the society, not allowed to reproduce or marry. And so, but again, what they would say is, well, natural selection, which is a main mechanism for evolution, isn't working well enough. Because we're taking care of the sick and the poor and the disabled, we're allowing those individuals to live, whereas natural selection would cause them to die, right? Because they're not good enough. They shouldn't be able to survive. And so they decided, a lot of eugenicists basically decided to take this into their own hands. And so they decide who should live, who should reproduce, who should marry. And but again, that goes against God's word, because every individual is fearfully and wonderfully made. We all are made in God's image. And so, and we are commanded to take care of the poor and the needy and the sick. So it's really a movement, and it came out of Darwinian evolution. It really did, because the idea there is survival of the fittest, right? And so they were saying, well, we're damaging that in humankind. We can't evolve into better and higher things because of our care of the poor and the sick and the needy. So it's really an idea that came out of evolution, but obviously the Bible speaks against those very things. And we need to realize it's not dead. It's still very much alive. It's just gotten a lot quieter, so to speak, how it's accomplished.